we have over here? We've got Seb. We've got, I think it's just Seb over here right now as far as dev mentors. And we've got Maritz and Lucas on the line as well. And I'm going to go ahead and start. This is already looking like one of our smaller dev mentor hours. We only got 11 attendees here, so you can be extra personal this time around. I think a lot of people are probably heads down trying to figure out this core project Seb assigned them and try to make it happen. And we can give more information on that if we need to. But yeah, if you have any questions, this is your time. So go ahead and raise your hand or submit something in the Q&A and we'll get started. All right, Lee, you're able to talk.
Hello, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Oh, cool, I can't hear you. I have a question. I deployed the canisters and I get a message like this from the DAO canister. The other canister, which is the web page, says body something something. It was along the lines of body does not pass verification. Don't know what's happening and if it's incorrect.
Okay.
So the first message that you just posted to the chat basically tells you that the canister you're trying to call does not expose the method HTTP request. So maybe you defined that function in your canister or in your actor, but you kind of forgot to make it public.
Okay.
That could be one possibility. And for the second error, this body does not pass verification. That's usually due to the fact that you are trying to basically access your canister through like your canister ID and then .ic0.app. And what that does is that it installs a service worker in your browser, which is basically just like a small JavaScript program. And what that program does is that it basically validates the responses that your browser receives from the internet computer. But that only works if you have the logic implemented in the canister as well. So if you only, like if you write an asset canister yourself and you only expose the HTTP request method and you try to access your canister through that .ic0.app, then the verification won't work because your canister doesn't implement any logic for this verification. So what I suggest you to do is that you actually try to access your canister. I'm going to post a link like canister. 1 second. So maybe you try accessing it with this URL. Like you put the canister URL and then you put like a raw in between the canister URL and ic0.app.
Okay.
And yeah, for the first part, we can actually like, I can give a quick look if your canister exposes that method. Let's see.
Are you looking on the candid interface?
Yes.
You can here,
So yeah.
I can give you permissions to share your screen if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, here, let me see.
So I guess RAW is not using verification or anything, right?
Yes, that's true. If you use this this raw URL, then basically the boundary node does not at the first request send you back the service worker, but instead it communicates with the canister directly and then just sends you back the response from it.
Okay, cool.
Without any verification. So it's less secure, but yeah, if you don't have like the certified assets logic, which is pretty complicated. So I'm not really aware of anyone like writing that themselves. So basically, if you have certified assets and you use the service worker, you usually use the asset canister that Dfinity provides, because they've written like a Rust canister for it, which is also the canister that automatically gets deployed when you define within your defx.json that you want to deploy an asset canister. It's just like a pre-built WASM that they inject. So for the canister URL that you gave me, if you look at the interface that it exposes, you can see that this is probably the DAO canister that you built, and you're trying to access you're trying to access that through HTTP, but that doesn't work, because to access a canister through HTTP, you have to request this HTTP _ request method, and you don't have that here. You only have get all proposals, get proposals, submit proposal, and vote. So maybe you chose the wrong canister URL. I don't know. Maybe a canister ID. Maybe it's a different one for your asset canister that's controlled by the DAO, because this one looks like the DAO canister, not like the asset canister, right?
Yeah, thanks a lot. And now I know it's a bug that I made. Okay, I can go look deeper. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. You're welcome.
Awesome. All right. So LA asked on the chat, question regarding the ledger canister. How can a single canister handle all the ICP transactions? And
I mean, in what do you mean? Like, how can it handle all the ICP transactions in terms of like throughput, or like what makes you wonder how it can handle all the ICP transactions? Maybe you want to like unmute yourself and go a bit more into detail.
Yeah, I can allow you to talk, LA.
Okay, so my question was, for example, when you mint NFTs and that many people try to mint NFTs on a single canister, there is a lot of problem, you know? And I was wondering, so if when it's only a few thousand NFTs, how is it that transaction on a single canister with ICP, that must be much more than when we try to mint NFTs? There is no this kind of problem that happens if it's only one canister, but maybe I just don't understand right how it works, but that was a curiosity.
I think like when you have problems during an like an NFT sale, that probably the problem is that like the sales code maybe isn't that well written or something like that, and it kind of like slows down.
I know that our main problem during the first big NFT sale, IC Punks, it really is the boundary nodes, and it was like all the people trying to to log on to the network at once. The boundary node network wasn't as scaled as it is now, and things like that. But I mean, canisters are pretty fast, and a ledger is just, you know, like really low data requirements records. So a computer can handle a whole lot of record adding, and it's not taking up a lot of memory or anything.
Yeah, maybe also because like I think the ledger canisters on a system subnet, and there are like not that many canisters in that subnet, so yeah, it doesn't really have to like fight over computation with other canisters. Maybe that's also like adding up to the equation.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I've been just looking at the recent ICP transactions, and actually the load isn't that crazy. So within an hour, yesterday my time at 9 p.m. we had like 400 transactions. So it seems like the load isn't that crazy. And also usually, yeah, well, yeah, so far it seems like it works good. Any other questions?
All right, so we've got Lee with import CD. Motoko-based certified data is used in the examples. They use bit operators to make a blob into a NAT32. Should I make the HTTP body into a NAT32 certified? I don't think you have to. I mean, and Seb, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, ultimately, I think you just have to serve an HTML template, which would be just text. You just declare it at the top and put whatever you want in the body, and keep things simple on yourself. When Seb did the D-Squad implementation, we orchestrated all of the SVG files as strings and just delivered them to the front end, and they worked properly.
Actually, I wasn't even aware that there's a Motoko library for that.
I've never used it.
Something you.
To certify
But-
the whole HTTP request.
Yeah. I think how it works is that you basically, when you store, I don't think you can like send a dynamic certified HTTP response. I mean, like, I think you can't really like, when the user requests something, you can't like just on the fly create a string, certify that, and then send it back. I think to certify the data, it actually has to go through one round of consensus first, and then people can make a query call with the certification attached, and then basically check that the proofs are correct. And by looking at the implementation of the module, the set method accepts a blob, and so I think you don't necessarily have to transform the blob into a NAT32.
Yeah, and I don't see why it would be necessary. I mean, we're already using HTTPS, so and other things. I mean, and also there's not like any requirements in the core project for this kind of level of strict security stuff, I think.
Yeah, I think they're trying to certify the asset, right?
Mm. Can you maybe send a link to the example you're talking about? Is it in the Dfinity examples repository, or is it something else? It's probably the Dfinity examples repository, I guess.
You're allowed to talk, Lee, if you want to expound further.
Oh, yeah. So what happens is, in the daily task, you refer to using certified variables in the document, and that's why I asked about it. Then I went to check the examples, and in there's a certified variable example, and also a chat by Joachim Breitner, I think, on this thing, where he refers to very, very small space because of the type of data structure. I think it's a Tricia tree, and That's why I ask, how can you certify the whole HTTP request if it can be infinitely big?
Yeah, I think the idea is that I mean, it's been a while since I watched this video, but basically the space you have to store a certified variable is like only 32 bits. So you kind of have to use it in a very efficient way, because obviously, like, if you have like a string that's longer than 32 bits, you can't like put it in the certified state. So I think the trick is that you kind of move like this, use like this Patricia Merkle tree or whatever it's called, and that way you can, I think, you store the hash of the root of the tree in the certified state, and you then, when a user like requests an asset, you send back like a prune tree together with the, yeah, I mean, that's out of my technical knowledge, but the idea is that the space you have is limited, so you do not like store every asset that you want to verify into this small 32-bit space, but you only store like a hash of a tree, which you then basically send back to the person requesting the asset, so that they can locally then verify whether or not everything like works out. I hope that made sense. But yeah, not my area of expertise.
So I can assume I don't have to do this then, since
Yeah,
you
I
said
mean,
in the notes to do it, but now it seems like I don't have to. So
No, I don't think that's within the scope for this bootcamp. I think this is like stuff.
so there is yeah, like, I mean, Moritz, you said it, you have to use this Merkle tree, and every time you change one of your assets, you have to like you have to store all the assets that you served inside this tree, and every time you update something, you have to recompute the hash and certify the hash of the root of the tree. But the thing I think Lee is trying to do is the hardcore like challenge. I mean, there are all the videos, so you should be able to do it. If you're stuck on something, maybe send me a DM on Discord, but it was a funny challenge. I mean, yeah.
Do you think he's applying a challenge that was meant for just learning in general to the core project when it really wasn't meant to be applied?
Yeah, that might be the case.
Yeah. So, I mean, because those
Like,
guides are meant to teach you the broad scope. Not everything is directly related to stuff you have to do in the core challenge.
I just wanted to talk about that because I think it's like amazing. I mean, you can serve something and certify that it's like the correct content just by knowing the public key of like the IC, which is like it's completely cool. You don't need to download anything. And if you want to do it and you successfully do it, I think you deserve your diploma. So yeah, feel free to send me a DM with the code that is like not working, but it's not a requirement for the core project.
thank you.
All right, anyone else with a question? And you know what, even if you don't have a question, if you just want to share a little bit about what it's been like on your end, working on these things and kind of going through the first few days of boot camp, I'd love to hear about it. All right, Muhammad Amir.
Hi guys, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's been awesome. I've only been into IC for about a month, so it's my first blockchain that I've looked into. So I've just recently going to blockchain dev. I looked into a few variants. I looked into obviously the most popular one, Ethereum. Had a little look into Solana and Radix, which I was really excited about. But then this bootcamp came up. I thought it was a really good opportunity to really get my hands dirty, and just learn a bit more instead of just reading documentation and having a lot of these abstract ideas and not really knowing how to implement them. But so far, I'm really impressed. The quality, the content, the mentorship, the lectures, everything's on point. And it seems to have been very well thought out. So thanks a lot. Everything just seems to fit in. It's like very logical the way you've planned it. Moving from one day to the next day. It's exactly the right content that we need to learn to progress. So yeah, I'm loving it. Thanks a lot, guys. I know a lot of effort. It's not an easy thing to organize and to execute, but yeah, I'm really happy, and kudos to you guys.
Oh, thank you so much. It really means a lot to us to hear that. And I'm curious, did you come into this with some programming knowledge previous, or are you kind of?
Yeah. So I've got my own development firm and everything. I've been developing for about 15 years, mainly Java, PHP, JavaScript.
Perfect.
So I've got a lot of that behind my belt, but I really wanted to get into blockchain dev as well. I've seen some really interesting projects, and I've got lots of ideas. The main thing is the time, isn't it? You need the time. So this was a really good opportunity to put. Well, I'm still doing my day job, so I just do this during the night. But
It's you that is sleeping 4 hours at night, right?
Yeah. I think I do need to catch up one of these days because I'm feeling very sleepy at the moment.
Yeah, I am on the same schedule.
You slept like
So
1
you know
hour
what
last
it is.
night, so not even.
That's really cool.
Yeah, thanks. And actually, so yeah, coming into this, and we've kind of had a hypothesis that Motoko, because it's such a JavaScript-like language, that it'd be fairly, like less of a barrier to pick up for someone who's really familiar with JavaScript, compared to like Solidity or Rust and some of the other options out there. So like, has that been the case for you? And like you coming from a strong background in JavaScript, has this seemed like a kind of a natural path into
so.
Web3?
Yeah. I think that's why I've not struggled too much. But having said that, I've not really gone into the debt so much because I've not had time. For example, the core project, I know I need to start working on that to really get into the nitty-gritty of it. But yeah, it's been very good. It's I think because it's all on chain, isn't it? I think that's one of the major factors. It's very easy to deploy, debug, and you see the whole life cycle instead of just parts here, parts there, trying to make everything work together. So that's yes, it's been even the Motoko syntax takes a bit getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's quite natural, isn't it? You start enjoying it.
Yeah. No, and me, I came from a background mostly in front end development, and once you kind of get past the early hump, it's like cutting through butter. You just have to think through the logic you want, and it's so easy to build on the IC. It's crazy. I mean, you don't have to hook up all these services. So yeah, no, that's great to hear. And I want to say one thing just to everybody to encourage them. Like, if you haven't started like really making a lot of progress in your core project right now, like don't freak out. Like, I don't want to say this to I don't want to encourage procrastination by any means, but the core project, it's not like something that like, if requires or must have several days. Like if you kind of had everything in place, it could be knocked out in a day. It's not this unsurpassable massive thing as far as meeting the core requirements are concerned. So you still got a shot. If you haven't made a lot of progress on it, you still got a really strong shot. And definitely don't procrastinate and work on it. I would say right now in camp is the time to really start focusing on it, more so than focusing on the daily challenges and stuff. A lot of that's necessary to kind of get to the point where you can really focus strongly on the core project, and that should be about right now. But I think a lot of people are in that same spot where they feel a little bit stressed because they're not super far down the path with it yet, but that's going to be okay. Yeah, so thanks for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Denny, thank you so much for the encouragement. Appreciate it. All right, Ellie asks, in the task for the core project, we had to start creating functions for storing our web page that are DAO or control. Can you give me a bit more direction to how to go into that, and what is the logic? And Seb, do you want to take this one on
yeah, I wanted to show a few things about the core project.
Yeah, here, I'll let you show it.
I can show a few things. So we are sharing the screen already?
Yeah, we're sharing the screen.
Cool. Okay. Which one is it? Ah no, it's like this. Yeah, it's a bit messy. So the idea is basically, yeah, I'm showing a lot of
Someone's gonna screenshot that.
that's already screenshot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, at least you only got the web page. Now it's too late anyway. So the idea is to have a web page. So like this is what Moritz was talking about. You have the HTTP request method here. So you can serve a response and you can encode some text here. So that's the like text that will show up on the screen. I'm gonna deploy the canister. And this text is basically stored in a variable that we can also make stable just to make our life easier. And then you have a second function that will basically enable some whitelisted principle to modify this variable. So that's how you get like a dynamic, dynamic web page. It's a big like word, but it's the case. So if we go. So yeah, that's the Candid interface for the web page. HTTP request, modify text. And then if we just go to the canister ID, so it's the canister ID is this one. Just remove the Candid and we just go there and we just see this. This is like what I was expecting for the web page, just a blank page with some text. And yeah, like, I mean, if I just probably remove that because so yeah. And now I can modify the text. So maybe hello. And that's the DAO. That's what it looks like.
Yep.
That's it. So yeah, I won't show more of the code because like this is most of what you need for the web page. Then it's up to you to implement the other canister, which is the DAO. And just so you know, the DAO should call this canister. That's how you can modify the text. When the proposal is voted on, you should call modify text and it will modify this. I hope that's clear enough. Where is the slide? Is this?
Just wanted to go back to Lee again regarding the certified data thing. I don't know if you saw it, but I wrote like two answers on your question. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that the bigger picture is more clear now with the code. How is the page that you modified related to the front end of our DAO? It's two separate web page. It's just like there is the web page that you control, and there is just the other web page, which is an interface. I think I also have it here. So the web page is oh wait, no, it's the asset. So this one is not like, I think this one is not completely updated, but basically you have just like an interface to create the proposals and stuff. It's not really important interface. You could actually just create the proposals from coding with the FX or with the Candid UI, but I thought that was just funny to have an interface. And it was a quickly hacked between me and one of the previous students from the bootcamp as well. But you can modify it and you can use something else. And I hope that clarifies the situation with the web page. Yeah, there is two like front end, but one is an asset canister and the other is a Motoko implemented HTTP request.
We want a DAO that did something. And so what we chose was a web page that it updated, but that could have been, you can think of it as, it's just the thing that the DAO controls. So it could have been anything else, you know? So just don't let the terminology of web page and front ends like confuse you into thinking they're the same thing. And just think of it as, in this case, the web page is the thing controlled by a DAO.
Yeah, I wanted to show that like basically the DAO can do something. And in the beginning, I thought like maybe the DAO can mint tokens or like create NFTs or things. But this is the cool thing about the IC is that since like canisters can do so many things, when you control a canister, you can do way more things than when you control a smart contract. Like on Ethereum, you would be stuck, like the DAO could just mint and do stuff with tokens, but now the DAO can like modify a web page, like it's another level, and you can do way more interesting things.
Well, there are some projects that someone's working on where a DAO will control it, like a social media account, which would be really cool because we can do HTTP outcalls now. So like the sky's the limit. So like once you learn kind of some of these basic things, like what the thing being controlled is the exciting part to innovate on and change and turn into something more useful.
Is it possible to modify a map of the proposals in modules other than the actor? I'm not sure. Do you want to come on stage and clarify? I'm not sure I got the question.
Hey, Fran, you're allowed to talk if you want to kind of expound on your question a bit more.
Obrigado.
We need to go and get our own place. Okay. For once it's one.
Yeah, I think, like I think I understand what Fran asks, and it works. You can import a function, for example, from another module. You pass the map to that function. Within the function, the map is being modified, and then you return a modified map and basically reassign it inside your actor. And that way, yeah, you basically achieve what you are trying to do. If that
Oh
didn't
yeah.
answer,
Okay, got it.
just repeat.
Yep. I think I still have the code of.
Be careful what you put on the screen, though.
Yeah, it's already all over the place. Should I close? I close it, but this is like the code of Discord, and that's, I think what you're asking is like, can I modify the states and like a hash map or tree map in a module? And yes, you can do that. Like, for example, I think we had created this ext module for like the NFTs, and inside of that you have the registry. So this is a tree map and it's inside the module. But of course, it means that you have to, when you upgrade, you have to like, when you will instantiate your actor, you will have to like start the module. And when you want to upgrade, you have to take the state of this module, do something in pre-upgrade, store it in stable memory, and then put it back after post-upgrade. So like it's a module that contains a state. Yeah, can totally do that. Like,
Yeah, I want to add that if that's the case, if you're using a non-stable data structure, if you use a stable data structure, you can't update the state inside a module. You have to update the state directly on the actor. In case of try or I don't know, an array, you can't update the state within a module.
All right, any other questions? Sorry if it's a little loud on my end. They just served lunch.
It's dead silent. We don't hear anything.
Okay. All right, so Zane, sorry I missed the first half. For today's task, is it mandatory to implement all CRUD functions, update and delete are not required for the project?
Don't you need update if the DAO? I'm not like extremely familiar with what you guys have to do like in detail, but if the functionality basically should be implemented in the canister that the DAO controls, then I think part of the task is to change the text, and that's basically updating it, right? I mean, so
Well,
yeah, delete needed, but you need
yeah.
crew.
It sounds like he's talking about proposals, like if you update a proposal or delete a proposal, what's in our case, a proposal is like rejected, but it doesn't really change to be updated. It would just be replaced. Yeah, I mean, I would say stick closely to the requirements. I mean, the requirements for graduation are the things to focus on when it comes to the core project. Pretty much like that's going to be the rubric we use. So focus on that. Now, of course, when Seb made the guides, he made questions and challenges, but then there's also some sections specific to the instructions that of like helping you along the process of making the core project. So it just kind of depends. So we got a question from Zane about whether like update and delete, like whether we need to do all CRUD functions for proposals, but like I don't think we need to update a proposal's content or delete proposals. They'll just be rejected or replaced, right?
yeah, there is like I put a list of functions in the requirements.
Yeah.
That's the functions that I want. If someone wants to put more and have more like
More complexity and robustness, yeah.
more granular access, like being able to do more things, deleting proposal and stuff, that's cool, but not in the requirements.
Yeah. So like we had talked about before, basically focus on meeting the requirements. And then once you hit that, you can add other bells and whistles and make things, cooler or more robust. But basically like make sure that you hit the bare minimum for graduation first, because that's what we kind of need to see to grade everything properly. All right, Lee asks, since the basic DAO is quite complete, is it okay to leverage it for a core project? I mean, yeah, basically this is an open book test. I mean, your job is to learn. And it's not going to be like a direct copy and paste. Like these are just because it's a strong reference, you're still going to have to learn to like how to implement everything. So, I mean, use whatever we included that, the links to like the samples for a reason. Is what Lee's talking about, by the way, is internetcomputer.org/samples has some example dApps, and one of them is a basic DAO example dApp, and it has some types of similar functionality. So I think it has the ledger on it. It's not like looking at an external token ledger. But anyways, yeah, I mean, the answer is it's an open book test. Like whatever helps you get there, do it. And yeah. So F0I asks, for today's coding challenges, can we change the function signature to pass in a compare function? Otherwise, I think we can't know if two elements of generic type T are the same.
Yeah, I'm also currently thinking about it, and I think you're probably right. I wouldn't know how to. You mean like for the unique one, probably, right? And then maybe for find and buffer.
I mean, most like there's a lot of types that include like an equal function, which would be for making comparisons. Like even the Boolean.
But how do you know which one to use? Like if it can be any type, like it could be like an object, maybe even, or like, I don't know, another function. So how would you be able to figure out what the compare function has to look like to work with all types? I mean, you guys probably have a solution, otherwise you wouldn't have asked or put it out there as a challenge. Maybe Seb has the answer.
Hey Seb, we need another question about coding challenges. I didn't make the guide. I made the principles and accounts little like informational section, but I didn't make the challenges.
What is the question?
Yeah, I think you're gonna see it.
Yeah, there might be like I need to check the function signature, but I haven't implemented the challenge, so like it's possible that there are mistakes in the function signature. Like should be okay, but yeah, it's possible that I made a mistake about today. Yeah, I'll check that.
He's gonna look into it. We'll come up with an update if we need to. Good cats.
Can you ask me which one is it? Like
All right, Zane asked, same kind of question for functions with generic hash maps in it. Do we need to pass the hash functions as an argument, or is there a generic hash function?
I don't think there's a generic hash function. You probably have to pass them.
I don't think you can do a generic. I mean, I haven't seen one implemented.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen
A generic type hash map. we tend to also try to, we're supposed to use try maps now because hash maps has some performance issues. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're trying to do exactly. If you wanna get on audio, raise your hands, Zane. If you want to expound on that, but okay.
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, hello. So, well, I don't know if I can say because it's kind of like giving out the solution, but essentially there is this issue, this challenge where I want to use a hash map, but it has to be generic type, and the hash map needs the equal and the hash function too. So I would have to change the signature.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a generic, like if
Yes.
then I don't think there's a implementation of a hash function that's able to hash like every type that you pass in. So you probably also have to pass in the hash function for the generic type.
Okay, and same for the try map too.
Yeah, the interface for them is pretty much the same. Yeah.
All right, I see.
But what I would do, Zane, is I would declare well, I mean, I don't know, Moritz, can you make declare a custom type that has a generic type inside of it?
Can I what? You cut out?
Could you do like an ID that's like a NAT, and then it also has a generic type, and then he would do the equal and the hash functions on the NAT and use a try map? Would that be something that's doable?
I'm not sure if I understood that. I think I couldn't follow.
Yeah, you might be able to do that. I'm not sure. But the thing is, I needed the generic type in the key.
Okay, that's what I was
So-
saying. It's like maybe don't use it as a key, maybe use it as a value and then have it,
Yeah,
have an
but-
index be the key. Okay.
Yeah, I was about, I wanted to use the hash map precisely because I needed the key instead of the value. Because I wanted to say, is this item already been added without iterating on a buffer or array? I don't care about the value, it's just to get at 01 on the key.
There are also try sets that basically don't allow you to insert duplicates or don't contain duplicates in their set. I don't know, maybe that's another.
I feel
Okay,
I
that
feel like a
could work.
different, yeah, I feel like a different data model is probably the answer here then, if for the use case you're describing.
Why is
He wants, he's kind of wanting to reverse the value in the key because he wants to make sure that there's no duplicates, but he doesn't want to have to iterate through something.
Is it for the project or for like a challenge?
I think it's something else it's something else you're trying to do, right?
A
Zane?
challenge.
A challenge you're giving yourself or a challenge that you've,
Which one?
First one, I think.
From today?
Yes.
Okay, I'll check that.
it doesn't sound like, okay.
Like I don't want to do it manually. This is similar to something that we have done like 2 days ago. But back then we didn't have hash maps. Now I don't want to do the same. I thought about, okay, let's just do it this way. It's not like memory efficient, but whatever. But like try sets, if they are generic, don't they also have need an equal function, equal or hash function provided?
Yes, they are generic and they provide a equal function. I was actually thinking that when you insert something into the try set, that it basically tells you whether or not the element was already present, but that's not the case. But you can test two sets for equality. So I don't know if that helps.
All right, I'll try.
I posted the link in the on
Yeah,
your
yeah,
question.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, so something said too is like kind of starting now in the boot camp and forward, like if you start spending more than a few hours and a couple hours on the challenges, it's probably time to just leave them where they are and shift gears to focusing on the core project, because the core project is kind of the meat and potatoes and the main focus, like as terms of end result. So I mean, by all means, can like learn and explore and stuff, but also just try to make sure you hit the requirements soon.
Yeah, it's not a huge issue. It's just that this kind of stuff might come up later while developing, and so it's good to find it out now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is definitely a time to play around.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
thank you again.
what you could definitely do is that you just like take the list, and then like basically iterate through all the elements inside the list and put them into the try set, and then in the end convert the try set back to a list and return that.
That's kind of what I was doing, but as I said, with the hash map. So the try set would solve the equal and hash function issue, because mainly the issue was about not changing the original function signature provided by the challenge too much. That was my concern,
Yeah,
because if I can change the signature, there is no actual issue at all.
yeah, true. But I think that way you don't have to change the signature actually.
All right. Any other questions? We're getting close to the top of the hour, so it's kind of your last shot. If you have a question, you want about the core project or Motoko in general. All right, going once, going twice. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks so much for everyone attending. The recording will be out a little bit later, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, Cody Motoko. Oh, whoa. So one last question. It just popped up. All right, Amir, Muhammad Amir, you're first. You can unmute.
Sorry, I don't think I meant to raise my hand there. On to the next person, sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem. Atia, a dummy question. A function can only return an immutable var, like an array, and not a map.
I think if you expose that as a public method, like as part of the canister interface, then I think that's true. But if it's like a private method, I think that's not true.
Yeah, same here. I think it's just like when it has to go through, was it Candid, like the external interface to the front end or to other canisters, then it needs to be a stable variable. So yeah, and you'll notice if you look at the declarations folder at the DID file, it's going to show you the Candid, the Candid syntax, and you'll see like the words record and vector and on all of that. So you can see how it's like certain things you might send, it converts to the stable version of that. All right, well, I think we're going to wrap on up. Thanks everyone for your time, and we'll be seeing you a little bit later. We have another Dev Mentor Hour coming up later today. These are optional. These are just for your benefit. And then we've got a lot more exciting lectures. And I'm just really excited to see all the core projects that come through. Y'all have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.